In today's video, we're doing a mock draft. We're doing the first 15 picks who we think will be selected at the 2018 NHL Draft coming up here June 22nd in Dallas, Texas. And that's coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams, so if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, today we're doing a mock draft for the first 15 picks for the 2018 NHL Draft here coming up in less than a week away in Dallas, Texas, June 22nd and 23rd. Now the reason we're only doing the first 15 picks is I didn't want to make this video too long, so there will be a part 2 coming for the second half of the first round, so stay tuned for that coming up here in the next couple of days. So there's been a lot of hype around the NHL Draft and a lot of its top prospects. So let's jump in here so we don't take too much time, and I'll tell you who I think are going to be the first 15 selections in this year's 2018 NHL Draft. With the number 1 overall selection, the Buffalo Sabres proudly select Rasmus Dahlin from Sweden. This guy's expected to be a very generational type defenseman. There's been no debate really for a long time who the Sabres are going to pick. We don't need to spend a lot of time talking about Dahlin. As most of you watching this probably know, he's a generational type defenseman. He's very offensive, great defensively with a bit of a mean streak. He's expected to be a little bit of Drew Doughty, Erik Karlsson, and Peter Forsberg all mixed together. And the Sabres really can't go wrong with this selection. So it's a slam dunk. Dahlin goes number 1 to Buffalo. The number 2 selection in the NHL Draft this year belongs to the Carolina Hurricanes, and he will proudly select Russian forward playing in the OHL for the Barrie Colts, Andrei Svechnikov. Svechnikov is looked upon as being the best pure sniper in this draft. His season was cut a little short due to injuries this year, but Svechnikov is certainly a little bit closer to Dahlin than he is to the other players in this draft. He's a solid number 2 guy. Early in the year, he kind of rivaled Dahlin for potentially being the number 1 pick. But as the year went on, obviously Svechnikov battled injuries. Dahlin kept progressing, and he really pulled away to be the clear-cut number 1. But Andrei Svechnikov is going to be a sniper in the NHL, projected to be a 30 to 40 goal scorer for sure. He's got a great shot, and he's a great overall offensive player, and the Canes really can't go wrong with this selection. Now, the number 3 pick belongs to the Montreal Canadiens. Like the Hurricanes, they were fortunate enough to have some good luck in the draft lottery, and they're picking number 3. Now, before I reveal the selection, I just want to let you all know that I think there are going to be some trades at this NHL Draft, and the reason I went with the player that I selected here for the Canadiens is I think that he's the guy that they're really kind of zoned in on and helping this franchise long term. There's been a lot of debate over who they should select. A lot of people seem to think they should select Filip Zadina, possibly Brady Tkachuk, but I have a gut feeling based on my own thoughts and what I've seen in speculation and other reports. I think they're going in a different direction, and I think they're going to try to grab themselves their top line center that they so desperately need and have needed for a long time. So they're going to be taking Jesperi, Kotkaniemi. Kotkaniemi obviously hails from Finland. He's a top projected center in this NHL Draft. This draft is a little bit light on centers. There's a lot of higher end wingers and D-man, but Kotkaniemi, in my opinion, is a top guy for center ice positions in this draft. He's got good size. He's an excellent playmaker, got a pretty good shot, and they seem to be high on this guy. Now, could we see Montreal maybe swap picks with some of these other teams that are a little bit below them to select Kotkaniemi at a lower spot and maybe get another asset in return? It's something I've discussed here on this channel before. Not a foregone conclusion, but I think it's a strong possibility, which is why I have them selecting him. If they don't trade the pick, I do think there's a possibility they take Filip Zadina, but I've seen quotes from Zadina himself saying he did not think the Canadiens were going to draft him, that he was under the impression they were going to be taking a center or a defenseman. So that kind of leads me to believe here, along with other things that I've seen, that they're going off the board here. They're going in a new direction, and they're going to grab that top center iceman that they so desperately need. We saw this a couple years ago from the Columbus Blue Jackets. When they selected Pierre-Luc Dubois, they kind of raised some eyebrows and got some funny looks off the draft table. But you know what? It's really paid off, and this guy's becoming their top center iceman. So I think this is something that we're likely going to see the Habs do. I could be wrong here, but that's just my gut instinct as what the Habs are going to proceed here with this pick. Now, the number 4 selection belongs to the Ottawa Senators. I have them selecting from the Halifax Moosehead winger Filip Zadina. Obviously, Filip Zadina is another guy who is projected to be a top scorer in this league. I could see him being a 30 to 40 goal guy. He does do a lot of the other things as well. He does have a pretty good two-way game. Plays with a little bit of grit. He's an excellent playmaker, great shot, and certainly has a high potential here to be a star in the NHL for many years. Now, the number 5 selection belongs to the Arizona Coyotes. I have the Coyotes selecting from Boston University left winger Brady Tkachuk. Now, Brady Tkachuk obviously is a strong power forward type guy who has a great offensive ability. Obviously, the Tkachuk name has history in the NHL. His brother plays for the Calgary Flames. His father is a longtime NHLer as well. And his father has, a certainly connection in the past to this organization. So I can see them going back here to the Tkachuk family and taking this guy if he's available at number 5. And I can see him fitting in nicely. Obviously, they have a lot of younger, faster forwards with this team already, and they could use somebody with a little bit more size and grit who can match their offensive ability to kind of round out their top 6 in Arizona. The number 6 selection belongs to the Detroit Red Wings, and I have them selecting homegrown defenseman from Michigan, Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes is arguably the greatest skater in this draft. He's got a very powerful stride with an offensive upside. I think he's going to be a tremendous NHL defenseman. He's a guy that can be a power play quarterback as well. He is going to be staying at Michigan for at least one more year, so he'll be at least 1 year away from the NHL, but he has a ton of potential, and I think the Wings cannot make a mistake here, taking him with the number 6 pick. The number 7 pick belongs to the Vancouver Canucks. The Vancouver Canucks have a lot of young, exciting forwards, and they could really use some more help on the back end, and they're going to get it with this draft as they select from Acadie Bathurst Memorial Cup champion Noah Dobson. Dobson has got size, he's got strength, he's got great offensive abilities, and he's a good defender. One of the best well-rounded, all-around defensemen in this draft. His stock is another one that's rose a lot throughout the year due to his team having a lot of success, going on to win the Quebec League Championship, followed up by the Memorial Cup. I think this kid is a tremendous talent, and the Canucks cannot go wrong taking him at number 7. With the number 8 selection, the Chicago Blackhawks would probably select from the U.S. National Development Program forward Oliver Wahlstrom. Wahlstrom just might be the best pure shooter in this draft class. He's a guy who's going to put up a lot of goals in the NHL, and I think he would fit very nicely with the forwards in Chicago. The Blackhawks are slowly going through a bit of a changing of the guard. Obviously, older guys like Taves and Kane and Seabrook and Keith and Crawford and all these guys that they won championships. But over the next few years, we're going to kind of see them. They're getting a little older, and they need the youth to kind of take over and revitalize that team. And I think Wahlstrom is the guy to do that. Now, they could certainly use a defenseman as well. And there's just a lot of speculation they'd be interested in defenseman Evan Bouchard. And you know what? They may go that route. It would not be a bad idea. I just, with this selection, with Wahlstrom being on the board, I just don't see how they can pass him up. So that's why I went with Chicago, taking Oliver Wahlstrom. With the number 9 selection, the New York Rangers would probably select Evan Bouchard from the OHL. Another top offensive defenseman. He has elite vision, elite passing. The only question mark on Bouchard is his skating. It's something he's going to have to be working on over the next couple of years as he gets into the NHL and jumps to the pro game. If he can improve his skating enough, he could be an elite NHL defenseman. That's the only knock on him at this point. He's got good size, good strength, and great offensive instincts. Good shot, good vision, great passer. He does a lot of things well. If he can improve his skating, then he'll be a steal with the selection. With the number 10 selection, the Edmonton Oilers would probably select out of Sweden defenseman Adam Boqvist. Now, Boqvist is a player who's gotten a lot of attention this year, and it seems like his draft stock has kind of gone up and down throughout the year, and depending on who you ask, he can be higher or lower. Now, personally, I think it's a strong possibility here that Boqvist falls down a little bit lower in the first round than some people have projected. He is a tremendous offensive talent, but there's certainly areas of his game that need some work. He does remind a little bit of Erik Karlsson of the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, he's a similar type player. If you can think back when Karlsson was first drafted and shortly after when he entered the league, he makes a lot of the same defensive mistakes, but he's as an offensive guy, he's absolutely tremendous. He's a great skater, good puck mover, so you can't go wrong. Edmonton needs a strong puck moving offensive D, and he could just be their guy. Number 11 and 12 selections, we have back-to-back picks from the New York Islanders. Obviously, one of them is their own selection, and the other one belonged to the Calgary Flames, which they picked up in that Travis Hamonic trade. So obviously, the Islanders can grab 2 players here. I have them selecting center Barrett Hayton. Obviously, Hayton is in my opinion, the number 2 best center iceman in this draft. Hayton's playing in the OHL for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, an excellent two-way player with a bit of an offensive upside. Certainly has the potential to be a solid number 2 guy who could possibly be a shutdown type center iceman. I think he has that ability. He does a lot of the little things well. He works hard, good skater, pretty good vision, pretty good passer as well, so he can put up some offense. But as this year goes on, I think he'll likely play another year with junior and likely have more of a starring role with his team. He's been playing behind Flyers prospect Morgan Frost as the number 2 center on his junior team. And as Frost moves on to the pro game this coming fall, I think his role is going to be that much more expanded that we'll really see what he's made of from an offensive side. But Hayton is a pretty safe pick for the New York Islanders here at number 11. Now the number 12 selection, the New York Islanders again will select defenseman Ty Smith out of the WHL. Ty Smith is another guy. He's a little bit smaller. The smaller puck-moving, quick defenseman nowadays, it seems to be a trend that they can be a lot more successful in the NHL than they ever could before. And even though Ty is a little bit smaller, he doesn't shy away from the physical play, and he's a tremendous offensively gifted defenseman. So with these back-to-back picks, the Islanders can get a bit of both here. They can grab a great forward and a great D and add to their prospect cupboard, which will really help them moving forward here. With the number 13 selection, I have the Dallas Stars selecting American-born forward Joel Farabee. Now, Farabee mainly plays left wing. Farabee's got pretty good size. He's 6 feet tall, but he's only 168 pounds. He could stand to add a little bit more weight to his frame to kind of fill things out to move up to the pro NHL level. But he's another guy who is a tremendously gifted goal scorer, but he also plays a really solid two-way game and can help out on a penalty killing as well. Obviously playing in the U.S. National Development Program. He's certainly probably the 3rd best star right now behind players like Oliver Wahlstrom and even Jack Hughes. So obviously this guy has a tremendous amount of talent. He could even in some people's drafts go a little bit higher. I've seen some draft rankings have him a little bit lower as well, but I think he'd be a great pickup for the Dallas Stars at number 13. With the number 14 selection, I have the Philadelphia Flyers selecting from the OHL Serron Noel. Now Noel's another player who seems to be ranked very differently depending on what draft rankings you look at here. He's got excellent size. He's a really big guy, 6'5", 209 pounds, playing for the Oshawa Generals in the OHL. For a big guy, he really moves around the ice well. He's got pretty good speed. He plays the right wing. He's got a right shot. He has an excellent shot, good playmaking ability as well. Noel put up 53 points in 62 games this past season in the OHL. Because he's such a big guy, where he does have a scoring touch, he can certainly go to the net well. Obviously, he can really screen the goalies well. He's not afraid to go to the dirty areas. He can use his size and strength to his advantage, and he can certainly be the type of player that at the NHL level, I can see him scoring a lot of goals from the dirty areas, which is something that a lot of teams lack. Something that with today's game becoming more of a speed and skill game, he kind of sticks out as a unique player and a unique prospect here that could certainly benefit well. I thought with the Flyers organization and their history and how they like to play hockey, having those guys, like he probably would be a bigger version of Wayne Simmons. That's kind of the best comparison I would think of for the Flyers. It's quite possible, in my opinion, that Noel could become, if he's drafted by the Flyers, the newer, bigger version of Wayne Simmons here in the next couple of years. With the number 15 selection, the Florida Panthers would select Akil Thomas. Thomas is a dual citizen of Canada and the United States due to his parents. Obviously, his father was a hockey player as well, and obviously he bounced around playing in a lot of different leagues. So now he's actually was born in Ontario, but his family for the most part lives in Florida. So he kind of would be a homegrown product, if you will, for the Florida Panthers to select here. Solid skill and playmaking abilities. Scouts that like him seem to really like him a lot. He is not a flashy player, but he does a lot of the little things well, and has gotten attention to being a fairly safe pick in this draft. He excelled with Niagara, playing on the power play. He's done exceptionally well there. He's very good at getting himself into open positions for good opportunities to score. He's also a pretty good playmaker, setting up like backdoor plays and things with his skill and his passing. So overall, I think Thomas is a pretty skilled forward that would fit in well with the Florida Panthers organization. The Panthers have a lot of depth at center right now, and adding another skilled winger who does a lot of the little things right, even if he only ended up being, say, a third-line winger with the type of player that he is, I think they would complement the Panthers organization quite well right now. So those are your top 15 picks. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Is there anything you would do different? Who would you put at what spot, and tell me why. I'd love to continue the conversation down below in the comment section. As I mentioned, stay tuned for part 2 of this mock draft, where we will cover picks 16 through 31 in a secondary video. I just didn't want to make this too long and take up too much of your time in one chunk here. So part 2 will be coming out over the next couple of days, so stay tuned. We're very much looking forward to the 2018 NHL Draft. Coming up Friday, June 22nd is the first round, and the other rounds will go down Saturday, June the 23rd. If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and we've got plenty of content here for the NHL Draft and all of its prospects. So if you're new to the channel and you missed a lot of our other videos, there is a link down below in the description with our 2018 draft coverage playlist, so check that out. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.
Musicsports.